Imagine a land of soaring mountains, plunging valleys, and a cultural mosaic as diverse as the landscapes themselves. This is Yunnan province, one of China's most breathtaking regions, a place where rivers carve their way through rugged gorges before spilling into fertile plains. But beneath this natural beauty lies vulnerability. The same rivers that nourish fields and sustain communities can, with little warning, transform into torrents of destruction when nature unleashes its full power. Here, flooding is not just a seasonal inconvenience, it is a recurring trial, one that tests both the resilience of communities and the limits of human engineering. Yunnan's hydrological network is intricate. Multiple rivers crisscross the province, converging and then flowing outward to other nations. Rainfall is driven by unpredictable monsoon patterns, sometimes lasting days, turning the sky into a ceaseless cascade of water. When precipitation is heavier than usual, mountain ridges are cloaked in thick clouds, releasing sheets of rain that saturate the soil far beyond its capacity. Once the ground reaches its limit, the water has nowhere else to go. Runoff rushes down steep slopes, feeding already swollen rivers with unstoppable force. Under these conditions, dams become both guardians and potential threats. They regulate river flow, store precious water for farming, generate hydroelectric power, and shield communities from surging floods. But dams are not invincible. Extreme inflows push against their walls, test their spillways, and strain their foundations. When water rises faster than gates can release, pressure builds. Hidden weaknesses, aging concrete, eroded embankments, or worn mechanical systems may suddenly fail. And when a dam breaches, the result is not a slow, creeping flood. It is an explosive release, millions of tons of water unleashed within minutes.
现在扣烂我的哦，唔得扣完哟，我睇se冲我哟，冲垮哟，全部拉差足的哦。 桥都被大水冲垮了。
The wave that follows strips topsoil from the land, flattens forests, sweeps away bridges, cars, and homes. In Yunnan's narrow valleys, these flood surges accelerate with terrifying speed, leaving residents with little or no time to escape. Survival hinges on the effectiveness of early warning systems and on how fast people can react when alarms are sounded. But water is not the only threat. Heavy rains often destabilize Yunnan's steep slopes, triggering massive landslides. These landslides can block rivers, forming unstable natural dams of loose rock and mud. For a moment, it seems the flood has been contained, but when such natural dams give way, they unleash secondary floods, cascading destruction downstream in a deadly chain reaction. What begins as a single disaster transforms into a multi-stage emergency. For the people caught in its path, the human cost is immense. Farmers watch helplessly as entire fields vanish under silt, mud, and boulders. Families lose not just homes, but heirlooms, livestock, and the fragile sense of security that defines daily life. Remote villages, often connected only by narrow mountain roads, may find themselves cut off completely, waiting days for rescue. Beyond the physical losses, the psychological toll is crushing. Fear of recurrence, uncertainty about rebuilding, and the haunting memory of nature's fury. Managing these dangers demands more than technology alone. Hydrological monitoring stations constantly measure rainfall, reservoir levels, and river flows. Drones and satellites scan mountain ridges for landslides. Engineers inspect dams, reinforcing weak points, repairing cracks, and upgrading systems. Communities, too, take part, practicing evacuation drills, mapping routes to higher ground, and ensuring that even the most remote households can receive alerts through radio or mobile networks. Yet despite all this effort, the challenge remains vast, because Yunnan's environment is one of extremes. Its climate shifts dramatically, from subtropical valleys where monsoon rains dominate, to high-altitude plateaus fed by snowmelt. Too much water brings catastrophic floods. Too little, crippling drought. Climate change adds even greater uncertainty, eroding the reliability of traditional knowledge and weather patterns that generations once depended upon. Ultimately, Yunnan's battle with flooding and dam failures is a reminder of water's dual nature. It is the source of food, energy, and life, but it is also a force that reshapes landscapes overnight, a reminder that nature's generosity is matched only by its unpredictability. The people of this province live in a delicate relationship with their rivers. Vigilance, adaptation, and respect are constant necessities. Protecting lives and livelihoods here means never underestimating how swiftly water can shift from a giver of life to a destroyer of worlds. And so, the story of Yunnan is not just one of disaster, but of resilience. Families rebuild homes from rubble. Farmers search for new ways to protect crops. Communities strengthen ties, preparing together for the storms to come. It is a constant balancing act between nature's power and humanity's determination to endure. Thank you for staying with us through this deep exploration of Yunnan's struggle with floods and dam failures. If this story opened your eyes, please give it a thumbs up, share it to spread awareness, and subscribe so you won't miss future journeys into the ways people around the world adapt to our planet's changing forces. Until next time, stay safe, stay prepared, and never forget the power of water. A powerful and sudden storm swept through Paris, causing massive disruptions across the city and surrounding regions on Wednesday evening, June 25th, 2025. The storm brought torrential rainfall, gale-force winds, and hailstones up to 5 centimeters in size, transforming the landscape into a chaotic, flooded mess. The storm struck with little warning, rapidly darkening the skies as it moved across the city. Within moments, rain began to pour heavily, drumming relentlessly on rooftops, streets, and subway stations. The intensity of the downpour overwhelmed local drainage systems, leading to flash flooding in low-lying areas and major roads. Streets, underground tunnels, and metro stations were inundated as water surged into stations and onto platforms. As the storm progressed, hundreds of commuters found themselves trapped in flooded metro stations and at commuter rail stops as water rushed into tunnels, forcing several sections of the network to shut down temporarily for safety reasons. Emergency crews were dispatched to assist in evacuations at several underground stations, with some commuters being rescued from waist-high water using inflatable rescue boats and makeshift rafts fashioned from subway seats. By the late evening, the storm unleashed a staggering 39,000 lightning strikes across France and Belgium, with Paris being one of the hardest hit regions. Thunderstorms rumbled through the city, accompanied by blinding flashes of lightning and deafening claps of thunder. These violent electrical storms added to the chaos, heightening both awe and anxiety among the residents. Fierce wind gusts tore through the capital, uprooting dozens of trees and scattering debris into the streets. The heavy winds and hail caused extensive damage in several parts of Paris, particularly in the central districts. Trees were uprooted, blocking roads and damaging cars parked on the streets. Airports were significantly impacted, with flights in and out of Paris disrupted. More than 20% of scheduled flights were delayed or canceled due to the storm's intensity. Hailstones battered vehicle windshields and building facades, prompting motorists to seek shelter. With winds reaching over 100 km/h, visibility became extremely limited, making driving hazardous. Local authorities issued warnings urging people to stay indoors and avoid traveling unless absolutely necessary. As the storm continued through the night, Paris officials issued a red alert for the city and the Île-de-France region, warning of the potential for further flooding, falling trees, and power outages. Tram services and surface buses were temporarily suspended as water levels rose to 50 centimeters in some of the worst hit areas. Emergency services worked relentlessly to clear flooded roads, remove fallen trees, and restore power to affected neighborhoods. In residential areas, basements and ground floor apartments were inundated, forcing families to evacuate their homes and move their valuables to safer locations. Public services and businesses across the city were also affected. Commercial districts saw water breach into stores and cafes, with sandbags and portable pumps being deployed to prevent further damage. Some businesses chose to close early to protect their inventory and minimize losses. The city's infrastructure was heavily tested, with municipal utility teams working overtime to clear blocked drains and reinforce key systems. Despite the severe damage, firefighters and medical teams responded quickly, assisting with rescues and treating those who were affected by the storm. While the weather calmed slightly by early morning, many parts of the city were still dealing with the aftermath of the storm, including flooded streets and damaged buildings. By the morning of June 26th, the rain began to subside, but the destruction left behind was significant. Streets were littered with fallen branches, leaves, and debris, and the city's usual flow was replaced by the hum of cleanup operations. Emergency crews were deployed throughout the city, working to restore normality and clear floodwaters from major roads. Paris authorities promised swift action to repair the damage, with cleanup efforts continuing through the afternoon. Residents were advised to stay cautious, especially around damaged trees and flooded areas, as additional rainstorms were predicted to hit throughout the day. This storm in Paris serves as a stark reminder of the increasing frequency and severity of extreme weather events, with climate change contributing to more violent storms. Cities worldwide are being forced to prepare for similar disruptions. The rapid pace at which the storm impacted the city highlights the need for stronger infrastructure and improved emergency preparedness to mitigate the effects of such disasters. Residents of Paris and other affected regions were urged to follow safety guidelines and stay informed through official channels. Recovery efforts will continue, but the city, like many others, must adapt to the challenges posed by climate change and the growing frequency of natural disasters.
Nature doesn't send us warnings, but we can. Floods, earthquakes, wildfires, and storms are striking harder and faster than ever before. By subscribing, you are not just watching, you are joining a movement to stay alert, stay informed, and helps others to do the same. Hit the subscribe now because the next disaster won't wait, and neither should you. Be ready and be aware.